Greetings and welcome to 9 Ether Truth. I'm your host, Trinity God X. The title of this video is the Mulatto Decoded. I'm going to state a public service announcement followed by a rant, and then I will get into the topic at hand. I want to say a great big thank you to my two Patreon monthly donators. That would be God Anya Halevi and God Alexis Sutton. I appreciate you two gods. If you would like to donate to my Patreon account, there is a link below. Also, I must apologize for taking so long to make a video. Please bear with your God, Trinity God X. I have a lot going on in the background. So now on to my rant. Well, I have been watching wombless atrophied melanated females video for over a year now, actually, and I usually appreciated the work that he put out. I'm not a sub to his channel. I'm not a sub to hardly anyone's channel. I think I'm only a sub to Princess Urzuli's channel. I don't want to be subbed because I don't want my email to blow up with all these notifications. I already get enough notifications from people that sub to my channel. Regardless, I watched this brother's video. I appreciate the fact that he exposes lies and he breaks down hoaxes and he does transvestigation. He doesn't have advanced knowledge as I do, as the information that he puts forth can be Googled or has been told over and over again by other YouTubers. However, I appreciate his unique style, and I always respectfully comment under his video. He doesn't receive cloning as being legitimate or real, so I usually drop knowledge underneath his video a few times and say, hey, this is an obvious clone. I am purposely not stating this brother's YouTube channel name. I do not promote anyone high vibration or low vibration. I mentioned Kali in not one but two videos, but that was me exposing him for being an info-jacking buffoon. And after the second video I took out exposing Kali, he stopped that low vibration behavior. So that validated everything that I stated in the video about Kali was 100% true and factual. Now this new Negro. So I was watching his video a couple of days ago, and in the first 5-6 minutes I heard information that I taught way back in September and October of last year, regurgitated out his mouth. And this is a 13-minute and some second video, so I'm like, all right, no big deal. In the last 2 minutes, I also heard him again in the same video regurgitate information that I taught way back in September and October of last year, regurgitated out his mouth a second time in the video. Mind you, the video isn't even about what he's regurgitating and stealing from me. It's about a completely different topic. So when he dropped the 2 knowledge bombs into his video that he obviously got from me, that's when I said, all right, you know what? He did this twice in one video. Now I have to address this. So I commented under his video and I said, this is information that I put out and taught on my channel in September and October of last year. Here comes this Captain Save a Negro, melanated heifer, dick riding, jumping underneath my comment to this Negro's defense. Oh, there's no such thing as infojacking, and this information was shared 5 years ago. Thankfully, God, Princess Urzuli, also commented under the video and stated, yes, this information was stolen from the 9 Ether Truth channel, and the God also put a link and said, yes, Trinity God X put out this information September and October of last year. And to that heifer, I replied, I said, really, show us the information from 5 years ago. Put a link in this comment section. Up till now, the crickets are chirping. So I exposed that fool for being a liar. But back to this brother. So obviously, when I'm hearing my information repeated back to me, I'm offended because the dick riding heifer stated, oh, there's no such thing as stealing information. Well, if you do not click that share button that's located under every video on YouTube, if you do not verbally mention in your video that this is where I got this information from, if you do not mirror the person's video and post it as a playback in your video showing the channel name and hearing me speak the teachings from my mouth myself, then yes, it is info stealing and info jacking. So I did not appreciate that because what he stole from me was not even the main topic of the video. And I respected this person. I don't have anything against this person. His information I like a lot. I usually see his videos popping up in the recommended videos section. This person records videos from his cell phone, which is completely easy to do. That's why he can put out 1, 2, 3 videos every single day consecutively. I, on the other hand, taught myself video editing, something that is advanced and takes skill. So that is the reason why it takes longer for me to put out videos in the first place, because I taught myself. So even the act of me putting out my video shows that I have the skill where he lacks. He just takes the easy road. And not only that, but this is completely an act of war against me. It's low vibration behavior. I'm trying to tell this brother, if he is listening, cut that shit out. If you want to know who I am, listen to the rest of my video, not just one, because I don't tolerate such low vibration behavior. This just goes to show you that these wombless atrophied female, number one, know the melanated God is the most superior being on earth. She does possess the most superior intellect. She is biologically superior and she is spiritually superior. And the act of these Negroes coming and stealing my info validates all that I just stated. Now, I exposed Kali and he stopped that low vibration behavior. I want this new Negro to take a page from Kali. He tried the same shit you did, and I exposed him in not 1 but 2 videos. So new Negro, listen, I'm gonna give you a pass this time. However, if you do this disgusting act against me again a second time, I will expose you just as I exposed Kali. And this just goes to show you that you wombless atrophied melanated females are indeed jealous of God and the fact that she has advanced knowledge. And please watch my video, The Egotistical Patriarchal Male, because I speak about all of this. At some point, these wombless atrophied melanated females always find a way to try to disrespect God, to try to turn the attention away from God onto themselves. Negroes, you cannot outdo God. God was before you. God was first on this earth. God could have once self-procreated through parthenogenesis. So no, don't try to outdo and outshine God, and don't get all ego bruised when God presents herself as having advanced knowledge, because I have the Akashic records. All knowledge of our melanated 9 ether existence is locked in my DNA memory, in my mitochondrial DNA, in my Akashic records, the same records that I possess as a God and you don't. So I'm trying to say to this new Negro that's trying to infojack my shit, back the fuck up, okay? I'm Sakmet, I am fearless. Okay, I'm giving you a pass now. Okay, do this again and I will expose you. And the funny thing is, when other people mention you in their video, you get all upset and call them out their names, this, that, and the third, and take out a video against them. I don't care if you take out a video against me, okay, because I want it known to all your subs that you are info jacking shit. And so I have to call into question all the information that you have on your channel, because now I have to question, how is that your material that you worked on, or did you just look at somebody else's channel, take their information and present it as your own? Now I have to wonder that. But the subject, the topic that you spoke about, I'm the only one since last year 2007, because I did my research and no one was saying what I was saying about this particular topic at the time. And in fact, I think no one still to this day is saying what I'm saying about this topic even now. So please, my perspective is completely unique, and a lot of the things, not all of the things, but a lot of the things I say and teach is completely unique to me. I put a lot of hard work into video editing. It takes a lot of effort, unlike you who just flips up your phone and records the screen, which takes no thought process, no skill whatsoever. Do not come on my channel because I liked you, I liked your information, and now you're questionable, you're shady in my eyes. Do this again and I will expose you just like I exposed that low-life colleague. Okay, so that is the rant aside. Onto the topic at hand. First, I want to state a few disclaimers before I get into the content of this video. If you have mulattoes in your family, if you lust after a mulatto, if you are a mulatto, if one of your parents is a mulatto, these are not my focuses when I'm putting out my teachings within this video. My main focus is on stating facts when it comes to his story and our Nine Ether story. So if you're one to get your feelings hurt easily, this is not the channel for you. Click off of my video right now and go to someone else's channel. Okay, so let's get into what the content of this video will entail. What phenotype and race is, what mulattos represents, the mulatto biological warfare agenda, the fate of mulattos and all biracials, why 9-ether to 9-ether procreation is vital, genetic regeneration versus degeneration, and finally, conclusion. Forget what you know or think you know or have heard about race and phenotypes. I'm here to tell you the real. There are only 4 phenotypes in existence: Africoid, Mongoloid Asiatic, Mongoloid, and Caucasoid. These phenotypes have been in existence in that exact particular order. And when I say existence, I mean Africoid as in 9 ethers. Mongoloid Asiatics, that would be your Tibetans and your Japanese, Chinese, those from Hong Kong. Mongoloid as in the ones with the skin melanin but the fur on their head that are from Pakistan, India, etc. And of course Caucasoids, which are Caucasians. Now, these 4 phenotypes entered the world stage like this. X chromosome melanated God fell from the heaven realm and landed in the Great Rift Valley on the continent, and there she self-procreated through the process of parthenogenesis, and she begat female X chromosome melanated 9-ether babies. It wasn't until she fell even further that XX split from XY chromosomes to make her lower half, which is the Y chromosome melanated wombless atrophied females. Then later on, as God, X chromosome melanated mama God fell more, the Y chromosome melanated wombless atrophied females created the Tamahu. And so that is the exact order of things. Now, in regards to a race, if you think of the actual physical act of running a race, various people have a start point and an end. That is exactly what a race is. A race has a definite start and a definite end. When we are speaking of race, we have to exclude X chromosome melanated mama God, for she is everlasting and eternal, because that's what God is, everlasting and eternal. When this Piscean cycle ends and we embark on the Aquarius cycle, only X chromosome melanated mama gods will be here. As it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the races end. Who are races? When you hear the term black race, know that they are exclusively speaking of Y chromosome wombless atrophied melanated females. Why? Because after God fell from the heaven realm, came here into the physical, begat X chromosome melanated gods, and fell even lower, she started to birth these Y chromosome melanated wombless atrophied females, aka black men. This is their start. Now, scientifically, more females are born than males. So if you follow that pattern, you will see that all men will go extinct before females on this earth, meaning Y chromosome melanated wombless atrophied females will eventually go extinct because more X chromosome melanated 9-ether gods are being born than Y chromosome melanated wombless atrophied females. Okay, so now onto the Tamahu. Y chromosome melanated wombless atrophied females created the Tamahu. This is the Tamahu start. As you may already know, the Tamahu's organ is shutting down. They are genetically weak. They have strains of diseases on their DNA that's only exclusive to them. The sun is giving them melanoma and skin cancer. And if you do your research, you will see that Tamahu is rapidly becoming extinct. The formula for extinction is low birth rate and high mortality rate. This is what is occurring with the Tamahu today. This is why they're doing things like organ harvesting of 9-ethers to prolong their survival here on Earth. The food is GMO because the Tamahu is GMO and synthetic. They have cancer-causing chemicals that affects them less and affects 9-ether even more dramatically. So they're trying to make the weather through weather modification accommodating to them because these are Tamahu. They derive from the cave. And anything hot and sunny and tropical is unpleasant to them and seeks to burn them and give them melanoma because the sun, nature, is telling us that the Tamahu is not of Earth and does not belong on Earth. The sun kisses that who is natural and organic. So the sun is very pleasing and nurturing to 9-ethers because 9-ether beings are the only beings that are natural and organic and who is loved by nature. So here we have a race which has a definite start and a definite end. Who is a race? Y chromosome melanated wombless atrophied females are the black race. These are black men and they are the black race. X chromosome melanated gods are exempt from being a race because she has no beginning and no end. There is never a time that X chromosome melanated gods never were. The Tamahu has a beginning and an end, so they too are a race. Again, to recap, there are only 4 phenotypes: Africoids, Mongoloids Asiatic, and Caucasoids. Mixed race fits somewhere in the middle of those and have a mixture of 2 or more. However, for all intents and purposes, if your mama is one phenotype and your daddy is the exact same phenotype, then you are that phenotype. Your mother and your father are the only ones that determine your race. If you have a mother and a father of a different race or different phenotype, then you are biracial. You are not black, you are not Caucasian, you are simply biracial or mulatto and nothing else. So now let's move on. Now I know that there are 9-ether coons out there who fuck the Tamahu, an act of bestiality, by the way, that helped to create mulattos and biracials. If you actually look at 9-ethers who date outside the 9-ether nation, it is mostly Y chromosome wombless atrophied females who date outside our 9-ether nation and go seek a Tamahu to mate with, versus the X chromosome melanated females who have been loyal to her 9-ether nation for the most part throughout the ages. Now, it is stated that Y chromosome wombless atrophied melanated females attempted to give melanin to the Tamahu when he created them. Now, I don't know if that's through scientific means, just in a petri dish, or if he actually fucked the beast. I'm going towards the latter because I always use the past to figure out the future, so to speak, as we know that there is no such thing as time. However, I actually think that these Y chromosome melanated wombless atrophied females tried to fuck the beast. Why? Because they're still doing that to this very day. So yeah. However, regardless, I'm just going to list off the things that I feel mulattos represent in relation to the 9-ether nation. First and foremost, mulattos represent Neanderthals, the Tamahu, and not 9-ethers. I repeat, mulattos represent the Neanderthals, the Tamahu, and not 9-ethers. That thing on their head is not hair, it is animal fur. For in order for it to be hair, it would have to be the thickest and the coarsest. And the individual would need to have one 9-ether father and one 9-ether mother in order to be 9-ether. So certainly mulattoes represent the Neanderthals, the Tamahu, and not 9-ethers. Okay. Cave beast rape. Mulattoes also represent cave beast rape. Cave beasts raped their way into Kemet, which caused the mulatto outbreak and started the fall of Kemet. So in actuality, mulattoes represent cave beast rape against 9-ethers. Cave beast rape of X chromosome melanated gods. Now you Y chromosome melanated wombless atrophied females were supposed to protect the god. You were supposed to be the helper mate to the god. However, you dropped the ball and so spiraled our fall even further, lower and lower, because Y chromosome wombless atrophied melanated females did not fulfill their divine role by protecting the god against attack. Attack from whom? Attack from the beast savage Tamahu, and thus created the mulatto. So the mulattoes represent the rape of X chromosome melanated gods. Now, when an X chromosome melanated god chooses a Neanderthal, a Tamahu, in which to mate with, this is a mental illness, for that did not occur until recent times. Back in the days of Kemet, X chromosome melanated god did not choose a cave beast in which to mate with. She chose her own lower half Y chromosome melanated wombless atrophied females, and it has been that way for a millennia. I would argue that it's only been in the last 400 or 500 years that X chromosome melanated gods have been choosing Tamahu in which to mate with. Due to her fall, I always state, X chromosome melanated god is exempt from blame or judgment, as she is the only judge and she is the only god. When she is out of her god mind, she makes low vibration decisions, and those low vibration decisions is sometimes mating with that which is not even in her own species and mating with the Tamahu. Moving on. Mulattoes also represent biological warfare against 9-ethers, as they carry the cave savage Neanderthal gene. And the problem with that is the cave savage has disease strains that is completely foreign to 9-ethers. So in actuality, a mulatto is a biological toxic soup, genetically speaking. Moving on. White privilege. Mulattoes get to take advantage of white privilege and 9-ethers do not. Anytime a mulatto wants, they can play both sides to the middle. They can flip-flop. One day they're Caucasian and one day they are not. They are literally biological double agents or biologically two-faced. Okay, the existence of mulatto is the attempt to suppress the 9-ether gene and to suppress melanin, which is impossible because melanin is indestructible. When melanin knows that it's under attack, it automatically changes. Melanin is intuitive. Now, I'm not saying 9-ethers need to go out there and be fucking reckless and ingest something that's going to harm them and say, oh, my melanin will save me. I'm saying that all these things that are occurring, cave beasts mating with a 9-ether to produce mulattos, GMO, weather modification, brainwashing, poison air, poison food, poison water, cancer causing this, all of those melanin knows is occurring and is slowly switching up itself to get stronger and become more potent. So there is no way that a bunch of genetically weak, recessive Tamahu who are rapidly going extinct and who gets melanoma, skin cancer, and sunburn from the sun could breed out the whole 9-ether nation. That is a lie, a myth, and a deception. Melanin has always been and will always be the dominant substance of the Yoniverse. So all this foolish talk about in the future there's going to be a whole world filled with mulattoes, bullshit, okay? The Tamahu and wombless atrophied melanated Y chromosome females will go extinct long before that happens. And also 9-ethers are the predominant populace of the entire flat earth. So that little mathematics just does not add up. Mulattoes account for an eye drop in the ocean figuratively speaking, of the races and phenotypes on this earth. And if every 9-ether mated with every Caucasian right now, they still would not create a nation of all mulattos, where mulattos dominate in terms of their numbers. That is fucking impossible. So all these talk about mulattos is going to take over and it's going to be a bunch of mulattos in a couple hundred years from now. Please. Bullshit, okay? In the first place, mulattos get sunburn and they are just as weak and recessive as their Tamahu parent. So, don't believe the dumb shit. Another thing that mulattos represents is the funneling of wealth from the 9-ether nation right back to their cave B side of the family. In terms of the actual mulatto, a mulatto will always take the wealth that they accumulate through the misappropriation of 9-ether arts such as hip-hop, basketball, music, dancing, etc., and funnel it back to the Tamahu side of their family for the most part. So a mulatto is a tool that is used to funnel the wealth from the 9-ether nation back to the Tamahu side of their recessive family. Now, a Tamahu will get with a 9-ether who is up and coming or has some kind of success in life and latch on to that individual. And if the 9-ether is a business owner or a musician, a sports star, a celebrity of some kind, or has any kind of wealth, in particular those 9-ethers on the continent, what a Tamahu will do is target that individual, pretend to love them. Yes, because when a Tamahu targets a 9-ether for mating purposes, it's never about love. Get that fucking myth out of your mind once and for all. It's all about two things. Number one, grabbing the melanin from the 9-ether so that the Tamahu can have an illusion of survival of their genetics, which is hilarious because when a Tamahu produces a mulatto with a 9-ether, that production is actually just as weak and recessive as the Tamahu parent. Now, getting back to the wealth funneling. So the Tamahu will latch on to the 9-ether individual to have access to that person's assets or their land, inheritance, or fame, fortune, etc. A good example of this is what I mentioned earlier. Tamahu are seeking out African Y chromosome melanated wombless atrophied females and marrying them so that they can have access to their wealth. Now, in African culture, in the ancient days, it is the 9-ether X chromosome god who has access to the land. The land belongs to X chromosome melanated god. So therefore, Tamahu males are starting to now seek out 9-ether gods in which to marry and mate with, not for love, once again, to have access to their wealth and the land and their assets, etc. So that's another thing that mulattoes represents. The mulatto is a part of the wealth draining agenda from the 9-ether nation to the Tamahu side. Mulattoes and biracials are divisive just by them existing alone. Why? Because some 9-ethers will be for that mulatto or that Caucasian or that Mongoloid or that Asiatic Mongoloid, and some 9-ethers will be against that Caucasian, that mulatto, that Asiatic Mongoloid, or that Mongoloid. So the existence of the mulatto splits the 9-ether nation and places them on one side or the other. There are a few out there that claim they don't have an opinion one way or the other. However, let's face it, it is our nature to judge. We judge the food before we put it in our mouth to make sure that it is hygienic and not poison. We judge the traffic when we cross the street to make sure that it is clear for us to jaywalk or to make an advance in our vehicle. So cut the dumb shit. Everyone judges. Some just don't verbalize it. Therefore, the mulatto and biracials are a tool of divide and conquer within the 9-ether nation. And the divide and conquer agenda is a branch off of white supremacy and racism. So those are just a few things that I came up with that mulattoes represent. Please leave a comment in the comment section below and let me know your feedback on all I just stated in this section. Or if I missed anything, go ahead and add it. However, for all intents and purposes, let's move on to the next section. The mulatto biological warfare agenda. If you are an X chromosome melanated god and you mate with a Tamahu and you produce a child from that Tamahu, you have passed on to your mulatto or biracial child strains of diseases, deformation, mental illness, so on and so forth, that you would not otherwise have passed on to your child had you chosen a Y chromosome, wombeless atrophied melanated female who is your spiritual twin flame, who you are meant to mate and procreate with, because you are a fallen god and cannot self-procreate on your own. Now, of course, there are exceptions to every rule. However, your child has a higher chance of coming out with some form of birth defect or along the line strains of diseases that your child would not otherwise obtain if you had simply, as an X chromosome melanated god, mated with your Y chromosome wombeless atrophied female twin flame. The chances of mulattos having issues down the line are extremely high in terms of their genetics. That's only logical because they're carrying cave beast genes. Now, for you Y chromosome wombeless atrophied females that sport around these Beckies, well, you're just sporting around a two-legged dog with animal fur on its head that sheds. Besides all that, it doesn't matter how much you dress it up. You could put a wig on a pig. The genetics state that that is a recessive, and you too are also carrying on birth defects, mental issues, and other strains of diseases exclusive to Tamahu onto your mulatto child. In the zoo, they mate lions with tigers. However, in nature, lions and tigers do not coexist. Sure, they are both big cats. However, lions live in Africa and tigers live in Asia. To be honest, the tiger is actually more vicious than the lion. Why? Because the tiger is a hybrid. It's a science animal. It was thrown together by the powers that ought not be through gene splicing, which is science they got from us 9 ethers because we GMO'd they ass. Okay? So getting back to the lion and the tiger, the product of a lion and a tiger is called a liger. Is it ethically or morally proper to create such an atrocity such as a liger? No. Would that ever happen in nature? No. And to be honest with you, ligers don't live very long and they are very recessive. Please do your research on ligers. So I use the liger as an analogy. Just because you can mate with someone outside of your species doesn't mean that you should. And for all you super coons out there, and you Y chromosome wombeless atrophied females sporting around these mulattos and trying to pass them off as the original X chromosome melanated god, honey, you too are a super coon. You can only be alright and exempt from being called a coon if you choose your X chromosome melanated god counterpart, in which to be her helper mate to, her protector, defender of the nation, and far be it for me to dream the big dream. Gather up your fellow Y chromosome melanated wombeless atrophied females and fight the fucking oppressor like you are meant to. Stop being a coward male hoe sticking your dick into everything. To create a mulatto or a biracial is a biological warfare against the 9 ether nation, starting in the scrotum sac of these Y chromosome wombeless atrophied females or the womb of these X chromosome melanated gods. Okay, so that is the mulatto biological warfare agenda. The fate of mulattos and biracials. Well, because mulattos are a race, as per the definition that I provided in the previous section of this video, a race has a definite start and a definite end. The mulattos and biracials are a race because they came into existence at a certain point in our entire existence here on planet Earth. And I should add too that mulattos and biracials, just like the Tamahu, are not ancient. They've only been in existence for, get this, 3,000 years. Yup, that's correct. The Tamahu, caveman, Neanderthal, Homo sapien, whatever they want to label it, that which is not 9 ether, came into existence here on flat Earth only 3,000 years ago. That makes sense because the entire flat Earth terrarium is only 6,000 years in its existence anyway. So getting back to the fate of the mulattos and biracials, they too will become extinct. I suspect the mulattos and biracials will become extinct right about the same time as their Tamahu counterpart. The last to become extinct on Earth will be Y chromosome wombless atrophied melanated females, black men. Why? Because they have that melanin that allows them to hang on just a little longer. However, as I stated in my previous videos, the Y chromosome wombless atrophied melanated females will become extinct or get washed away in the Great Flood, whichever comes first. Either way, the Y chromosome melanated wombless atrophied females will not ascend to heaven because they are not from heaven and they are not the supreme being, X chromosome melanated God. So that is the fate of mulattoes and biracials. As I stated before, mulattoes and biracials are a race. They have a definite start, so they have a definite end and will become extinct with their Tamahu counterpart. Why it's vital for 9-ethers to procreate with other 9-ethers? Well, if all that I previously stated is not the answer to that question, then I don't know what to say to you. Your intelligence is highly compromised. First and foremost, X chromosome melanated gods belong with her counterpart, Y chromosome wombless atrophied melanated females. Now, I know that there are some situations, obviously, you should not accept certain people who are abusive, disrespectful, not up to your level, to your standards, not to your liking, what have you. However, you know what? Seek and you shall find. It's that simple. I don't want any 9-ether to use stereotypes and excuses to not date within the 9-ether nation. That is a cop-out. It's unacceptable. It's immature. This is a vast, gigantic flat earth that we live on. And you just need to travel more. That's it. Come out of your inner circle and travel more. Go to the Caribbean and Africa. Go where there are other 9-ethers. I am sure that you will find your twin flame somewhere, somehow. But if you're going to sit in your city and complain as a X chromosome melanated god that there are no good black men out there, or for you Y chromosome wombless atrophied melanated females to complain that there are no good sisters out there, you're a fool. Okay? There are tons of equal counterpart for everyone that's 9-ether within the 9-ether nation. So that's a cop-out. And I don't want X chromosome melanated gods to use negative stereotypes against these Y chromosome melanated wombless atrophied females. Now, I know I state a lot of facts about Y chromosome melanated wombless atrophied females. Make no mistakes. I love me some brothers, okay? The advanced thinking, high vibration ones, yes, I love them. The other fools out there that are just sticking their dick into everything and jerking to porn, those are the unintelligent, low vibration ones I cannot stand. I will tell them off, tell them about themselves forever and ever and ever more, okay? So don't lose sight of the fact that 9-ether belongs with 9-ether. There is no other variation or option or choices on a spiritual, biological level. I'm going to speak about this in the next section. However, there is such a thing called regenerating your genetics versus degenerating your genetics. So you have to understand and understand the importance of your gene pool. The Tamahu know the importance of their gene pool. Even when they date outside their race and come over to the 9-ether nation, they still know what their gene pool is capable of and what your gene pool is capable of. They have knowledge of that. Unfortunately, most 9-ethers are just willy-nilly sleeping with whomever outside their race and giving away their genetics, their melanin, and having anyone and everyone coming into their gene pool irresponsibly. That's not how it was meant to be. That's not how originally we chose mates. There was a conscious village decision based on what X chromosome melanated god would be with what Y chromosome wombless atrophied female. There was no choice. You had to, for the betterment and the strength of the nation, choose 9-ether and 9-ether love. That's it. So it's vitally important that 9-ethers, twin flames, get with each other because they belong together on a spiritual level, on a biological level. It strengthens the nation. Y chromosome wombless atrophied female. You cannot find black empowerment in a white death hole, okay? And same goes for the X chromosome melanated god. You cannot find your strength in a knuckle-dragging recessive cave Neanderthal with a teeny tiny member who have got no rhythm, who smells like wet dog and has animal fur on his head, that cannot compare to the finest of fine brother, or even the average brother. So it's all about genetics. Keep it in the 9 ether gene pool is my message, and 9 ether on 9 ether procreation is extremely vital for the strength and the power of our 9 ether nation. Genetic regeneration and degeneration. Well, this is both a simple and complex topic. When X chromosome melanated God fell from the heaven realm into the physical, in the region known as the Great Rift Valley on the continent today, she self-procreated through the process of parthenogenesis and begat female melanated babies. She only begat herself, her higher half, other female gods. As these X chromosome melanated gods started to fall lower and lower, she lost her superpowers, and one of those superpowers was her ability to self-procreate. So the XX chromosome split from the XY chromosome, and so now God was birthing her lower half. That would be the Y chromosome, wombless atrophied melanated female, also known as quote-unquote black men. So let's recap. When God self-procreates through parthenogenesis, God is regenerating herself and creating her fellow God. When God births a boy or so-called male baby that is melanated, she is degenerating herself from a scientific, biological, and metaphysical standpoint. So now we fast forward into the so-called present day, when God, X chromosome melanated, procreates with that which is outside of the 9 ether nation, no matter if it's a female child or a male child, she is automatically degenerating herself. The act of regenerating or degenerating solely lies on the X chromosome God's shoulders. This is God's role. She either regenerates the population or degenerates the population. For God's divine task is to destroy and construct. Destroy and construct. This is how the cycle turns over upon itself. Build, destroy, build, destroy. So when God gives birth, she is only doing one of two things. She is either regenerating her God self or she is degenerating her God self. No matter how many people that these Y chromosome wombless atrophied females mate with and create babies from, it is not his job to regenerate or degenerate. It is only God's job to regenerate and degenerate. So this is what I meant earlier when I said this topic is both simple and complicated. To keep it simple, 9 ethers procreate with 9 ether. Simple. And when the God, as I mentioned earlier, births a female child, that is her birthing her higher self, her fellow God. When she births a male child, that is a 9 ether, she is degenerating herself because she is having her lower half. Now, I'm not saying that God that births a male child and a female child, the female child is better than the male child. Obviously, from a nurture standpoint, from a nature standpoint, the mom is going to love her children equally as it should be. However, if you strip apart the nature aspect of God giving birth and just look at the genetics and the metaphysics of the whole God giving birth situation, you will see that yes, either God regenerates or degenerates. And the act of regenerating and degenerating solely lies on God's shoulder, and no other being on the planet is responsible for that in terms of the 9 ether nation. And finally, conclusion. Thank you so much, 9 Ether Nation, for bearing with me. There are a few things I want to say before I close out. There are certain reproductive assistant clinics that provide X chromosome melanateds with pills, either orally or injection, so that she will be able to reproduce with a tamahu. Now, for whatever reason, and most people don't speak about this, there are some X chromosome melanated gods that cannot produce a child when she mates with a tamahu. And obviously, if you've been paying attention, there's tons of reasons why that could be. Obviously, there are some X chromosome melanated females that can get pregnant naturally. However, there are some that cannot when she mates with a tamahu. So that needs to be stated. Keep that in mind. And nature is clearly sending a message that certain species should not mate with certain species. This is common knowledge and basic logic. Another thing I wanted to state was Tamahu female are barren and their vaginal canal is dry like sandpaper for the most part. Obviously, there are a few exceptions to that rule. How do I know? Because my Y chromosome, wombless atrophied, melanated female friend told me. That being stated, a lot of these Tamahu females go to fertility clinics, whether she has a 9-ether male as someone she sleeps with or not. Now, if you see a Tamahu female with pushing a stroller down the street with 1, 2, or 3 mulatto babies, do not assume that she has a Y chromosome, wombless atrophied, melanated female at home. A lot of these females, because they have X amount of money and big career, they just choose to go to a fertility clinic and purposely choose 9-ether semen in which to impregnate her. So nature again is telling us something. It is sending a clear message. Certain species should not be mating with certain species. It's important to note that so-called mulatto or biracial actors and actresses are commissioned by Hollywood to play quote-unquote black roles of characters doing reprobate degenerate things. Now, I'll give you an example. Halle Berry, who is, by the way, a secret transgender, playing a character that gives Billy Bob Thornton fellatio in the movie Monsters Ball, or when the same Halle Berry character played a cracked out mom who had to give up her 9-ether baby to Captain Save a down and out Negro Caucasian married couple. And that whole movie was called Losing Isaiah, where Halle Berry was strung out on drugs and he was a mother so-called of this 9-ether child that could not take care of this baby. This is done also on television, but although on a subtle, less dramatic level. For example, the so-called Cosby shows clearly had two characters that were biracial, which would be Denise Huxtable and Sandra Huxtable, clearly biracial. However, we were just supposed to shut off our intelligence and consider those two biracial characters as 9-ethers. Even the mom, Claire Huxtable, although I truly adore that character, is not fully 9-ether. She is clearly Mongoloid and 9-ether, as her name states, Felicia Rashad. Also, on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Hilary Banks, also a mulatto, that's the character's name, Hilary Banks, and Ashley Banks is clearly 9-ether and Mongoloid mixed. However, again, we're supposed to just shut off our intelligence and, for all intents and purposes, perceive these clearly biracial and mulatto characters as quote-unquote 9-ether. Also, so-called the powers that ought not be want us to consider the mulatto image as the epitome of beauty. And whenever I see a mulatta, all I see is a knuckle-dragging cave beast Neanderthal with animal fur on its head. For biologically, it is a toxic soup carrying the genes of the Neanderthal. So in no way, shape, or form is what I just stated beautiful. There's only one true beauty on this entire flat earth, and that can only be 9-ether Mama God, for she was the first woman on the planet and therefore is the epitome and originator and embodiment of beauty in and of itself. So no, powers that ought not be, you need to put down that crack pipe, because there can only be one Black is beautiful, as the quote states, and no mulatto, no hybrid, no synthetic, no Tamahu could ever match the beauty of X chromosome melanated mama. That being stated, I wanted to announce that I plan on making a part 4 to my video series, Yes, Black Woman is God, Here is Why. I'm meditating that brings you much joy, because there are some add-ons and some information that I want to put forth underneath the umbrella of that topic. So do look out for that sometime before mid-October of this year. Sorry that my videos take so long to put out. However, please understand and understand, I have a lot of things going on in the background. So that being stated, I'm going to close out by saying there are some additional links to articles in the description box. So if you're curious about this topic and you want to research more, I've posted some links below. As well, my Patreon link is there. Please consider donating so that I am able to just drop everything in my world and turn this into a career, and then this is funding my whole life. So obviously, any amount that you are able to donate on my Patreon, I would greatly appreciate. Please share this and all my videos. the numbers of my views and subscribers should be much, much higher. I mean, I'm appreciative of the numbers and I'm not doing this for numbers. However, please don't just watch and then leave it alone. Please watch it, put it on your WhatsApp, your Facebook, your any social media that you are able to put it on, and share your little commentary when you do share the video. So don't forget to share. If you are 9ether, please go ahead and subscribe. If you leave dumb shit, butthurt comments in the comment section, first of all, I screen all comments, so I will not even let that go public. I will just delete your comment and block you. On that note, that being stated, to my 9ether nation, as always, this is Trinity God X saying oneness.